gleaming, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
I'll now lead you in the Pledge of Allegiance, and listen to these words. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now I have the invocation by the chaplain.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for allowing me to begin in prayer. Eternal God, we are here today to pause and pay tribute to those who serve and sacrifice for our nation. We think of times when this country has been in need and the brave men and women who do what is needed. They who defend our land, our people, and our freedoms. Today we humbly ask that you once again help us honor them for the price they pay, and remind us all of what it means. Remind us of their families, their loved ones, their colleagues. May we think of all of them, especially those who pay the ultimate price and those who haven't, but bear the scars of war. We pray for them and for those who stand in harm's way this very moment, the soldiers, the sailors, the airmen, the Coast Guardsmen and Marines. May you bless and protect them all who wear the uniform, all who fight and die for this country, all of whom we humbly honor this Veterans Day. We ask all these things in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Please be seated. Our first remarks this afternoon will be from our featured speaker, Lieutenant Commander Eric Cottrell of the U.S. Navy, Commanding Officer of the Navy Operational Support Center here in Moreno Valley.
Thank you. Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. Beautiful afternoon here. Thank you so much for inviting me and welcoming me and my wife Yvonne and my little son Ellis there, for sharing this, to be able to share this day with you, and for inviting me to speak and to take part in honoring our patriots who have served and continue to serve our great country. I especially want to honor those special family members with us today who have suffered the loss of a loved one during service in the armed forces. You bear a particularly heavy burden, one many of us will never completely comprehend. As Abraham Lincoln so eloquently wrote in his letter to Miss Bixby, a mother who lost 2 sons during the Civil War, I feel how weak and fruitless must be any word of mine which should attempt to beguile you from the grief of a loss so overwhelming. But I cannot refrain from tendering you the consolation that may be found in the thanks of the republic they died to save. I pray that our Heavenly Father may assuage the anguish of your bereavement and leave you only the cherished memory of the loved and lost, and the solemn pride that must be yours to have laid so costly a sacrifice upon the altar of freedom. Thank you for sharing this day with us. To the veterans with us here today, who are members of one of our great veteran organizations, I want to say welcome and thank you. I take special pleasure in being with you, my extended family today. I say family as we're uniquely connected by our shared memories, shared service, shared values, and shared commitment to our great country. America has set aside this day to recognize, honor, and thank our nation's veterans for their sacrifices in defending and preserving our freedoms. It is not about a day off or a great sale at the mall. It is a solemn day, a day for reflection, for memories, and for prayers. Prayers for those lost and for those in harm's way, even today. War is serious and real, with cost both in lives and the nation's treasures. Lives are impacted forever. The very destiny of nations, even the world, has been determined by the outcome of war. There may be no greater example of this than our struggle and eventual victory in World War II. It's sometimes difficult for those of us in the post-World War II generation to comprehend the magnitude of this great victory. As our country entered the war, democracy itself was under attack. Some even dared to say it was a failed experiment, ready for the trash bin of history. Many of us have never known a world where our military was not regarded as the strongest, the best equipped, best manned military in the world. Americans born and raised after the war have far too little appreciation of the fact that for many dark months, the outcome of the war was in doubt. America was not fully prepared for the war. Our Pacific Fleet was devastated by a surprise attack, and many of our other outposts were quickly overrun. We found ourselves on the defense in every theater of operations, on multiple fronts, short on experienced warfighters, and short of planes, ships, and supplies with which to wage the war. But our country found the will overcome. It showed the resilience of a free people, motivated to victory through a firm belief in a way of life worth fighting for, and paradoxically worth dying for. Building yards and in factories across this great nation, men and women bent steel into warships at a furious pace and assembled airplanes and tanks and ammunition on an unprecedented scale. Training bases were quickly established to train new recruits in the lessons of warfighting. American democracy withstood the challenge and emerged universally triumphant. And look at the fruit of their sacrifice bore to the world. For the first time in history, more than half the people on earth live under democratically elected governments. In the Western Hemisphere alone, every nation but one can make that claim. This triumph of freedom stands atop a foundation built upon the bravery, the sacrifice, and in many cases, the blood of our young men and women in far-flung places like Korea, Vietnam, Kuwait, and beyond. It is a legacy all of us in uniform guard proudly. It is a legacy that gives our military and our nation its strength. Our recent history has brought about a new age of uncertainty and trial and sacrifice. None of us will ever forget the horrible events of September 11, 2001, cowardly attacks of unprecedented ferocity and brazenness. Thousands of fellow citizens killed, thousands more injured or traumatized. In short order, we were transformed from a nation at peace to a nation at war against our treacherous terrorist enemies worldwide. Our new enemies didn't have to wait long for our response. It was direct, determined, and deadly. Citizens voluntarily joined the branches of our great military in unprecedented numbers. Today, every soldier, sailor, airman, Marine, and Guardsman serving joined or renewed their commitment to serve under the cloud of war. For those that question our resolve as a nation or the commitment and patriotism of our young people today, I offer all that answered the call to serve voluntarily, knowing their service meant going to war. We drove Al-Qaeda from their training camps and hiding places in Afghanistan. We continued to purge terrorist regimes and those who gave them aid and comfort. With the toppling of the Taliban in Afghanistan, Saddam Hussein in Iraq, and the death of Osama bin Laden. And we continue today to take the fight to our enemies, wherever we find them around the globe, ensuring they will never again know sanctuary or peace or rest until they lay their weapons down in total surrender. As I speak, more than 100,000 servicemen and women, active, reserve, and National Guard, are away from their homes and loved ones, serving in combat zones in the Middle East and elsewhere, helping us to fight globally. They serve as warfighters and peacekeepers, rebuilders in dusty, sometimes dangerous places, as well as on and under the Arabian Gulf. Another 200,000 of our brave young men and women serve in other areas overseas, deployed to every ocean and serving in far-flung countries such as Kosovo, Germany, Japan, and South Korea. At any given time, more than 1/4 of our forces are forward deployed in harm's way. They are accompanied by thousands of our reservists and National Guard soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines. As the events of September 11th so tragically showed us, we live in a dangerous world. Despite the freedoms we enjoy in this country, there are obviously many that hate us and want to badly destroy us and our way of life. But because of the sacrifice, service, and patriotism of Americans from generations past and present, I rest easy that our future is and will remain secure. I firmly believe that the generations of future Americans from every state and territory will rise to meet the challenge and bring victory and security to our nation and peace to our troubled world. Tomorrow's veterans, both at home and abroad, will stand the watch and engage the enemy wherever necessary, mindful of the sacrifices of those who came before them and ready to shoulder the burdens of defending freedom. As I close, it is of the utmost importance that we also honor the service of those back home. On a day we celebrate and remember the contributions of our veterans and our patriots, we must never forget the contributions, sacrifices, and enduring support of their families and communities. You enable our service, and without you, none of what we've spoken about today would be possible. And so we end where we began. Today we remember those who have worn the uniform of our nation, given their all in war and peace, and we also remember the support of their families and communities. We honor the past while guaranteeing the future. To all veterans and families here today, whether past or present, on behalf of many grateful Americans and a grateful nation, I want to say one more time, thank you. Thank you for your honor, thank you for your courage, and thank you for your commitment and your sacrifices. Thank you for showing us the way and leaving a legacy that we will always remember and that will inspire our next generation of veterans and their families for years to come. May God continue to bless you, your families, and our great nation. Thank you.
And I'm seeing a gentleman in a Navy uniform, realizing that it was the Navy SEAL Team 6 that was instrumental in neutralizing Osama bin Laden. And I just read the book. It's an awesome story. Thank you very much, Lieutenant Commander Cottrell, and thanks for having your family with us. I also see we've been joined by a school board member, retired military also. Mr. Jackson's here. And even though our community sits in the shadow of March Air Reserve Base, literally, many people don't know of the vital missions provided by its military personnel who are our residents and our neighbors. Recently, of course, you've seen airplanes taken off more frequently the last few weeks, carrying Southern California Edison trucks to New York, to Stewart Air Force Base, to provide electric restoration to the East Coast. On this Veterans Day, it seems appropriate to recognize the contributions of veterans from Moreno Valley's own March Air Force Base and Air Reserve Base. I'd like to invite Councilmember Hastings to the podium to share some thoughts about Veterans Day and the impact Moreno Valley's residents have made on the well-being of the nation.
Thank you, Mayor Stewart. Today we recognize the service and the sacrifice of our veterans. March Air Force Base has contributed to our nation's military strength and dominated Moreno Valley's history since World War I. Early missions at the base included pilot training and bombardment operations with the Army Air Corps and their heaviest aircraft. By 1941, the attack on Pearl Harbor, March Field excelled in training air crews. After World War II, March became a tactical air command base and then part of the Strategic Air Command. The 22nd Bombardment Wing moved to March in 1949, and Moreno Valley's residents later contributed to the elimination of all strategic enemy targets in the Korean conflict. From World War I to Vietnam, from Kuwait to Kandahar, and from Berlin to Baghdad, our veterans have stood watch over America's peace. And today, we especially acknowledge the contributions of our veterans from Moreno Valley and thank them for their dedicated service. Through missions at March, Moreno Valley's veterans have contributed greatly to our nation's strength and security. After Korea, the wing converted to jet bombers and supporting tankers. Planes from March began breaking altitude and distance records. Moreno Valley's own March Air Force Base was home to the latest in aviation technology, and the soldiers who served here demonstrated the courage and pioneering spirit that maintained America's military dominance. Moreno Valley's active duty citizens served as part of America's nuclear deterrent force, as well as deploying during the Vietnam War. March operated as a reception center for our returning prisoners of war, and Moreno Valley maintains this loyal heritage today by continuing to fly the POW flag. Moreno Valley's residents stationed at March continue to make significant contributions to the United States military might. March Air Force Base was realigned in 1993 and officially became March Air Reserve Base in 1996. Base operations were consolidated into the 452nd Air Mobility Wing, which supports in-flight refueling missions and strategic airlift, anywhere, anytime they're called. March is also home to the pilots of the 120th Fighter Wing, which provides remote combat support through the Predator drone operations. Customs and Border Patrol, a division of Homeland Security, monitor air traffic for the United States borders from March. In addition, 3 medical squadrons turn planes into flying hospitals to transport our nation's wounded. Through all these transitions, Moreno Valley's servicemen and women have protected and defended the safety of the American people. Today, we honor all those veterans, past, present, and future, who from the bedrock of this great nation, and we want to express our deepest gratitude for your commitment and dedication in defense of our freedom and our way of life. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And there's another unit over there that I know Randy Ball would be mad if we missed him, and that's the 163rd National Guard Wing as well. And over the years, the residents of Moreno Valley have made significant contributions to the United States' military might. The thing is that there are neighbors, there are friends, and there are fellow workers. If you take a look in your program, you'll see a list of all the city employees and the years of service that they have dedicated to our country. I know Charles White was a council member, and he served and retired as the highest listed rank you could have. It's equivalent to a 4-star general, and that's Chief Master Sergeant. And we have many, many current employees, and they're listed in the program as a separate sheet. Since September 11, 2001, thousands of heroes have deployed and returned home through March Air Reserve Base. They have confronted danger to defend the safety of the American people. They've brought down tyrants, liberated nations, and helped bring freedom to more than 50 million people. Through their service, they're making this nation safer. This community is committed to recognizing our veterans. Just yesterday, I was at Sunnymead Ranch Homeowners Association dedication to a new Veterans Honor Garden. It has tiles engraved with names of those veterans who served our country. It was a very nice service and ceremony, and it's a really nice, right on the lake, sits right on the lake, right by Sunnymead Ranch Parkway. Veterans who call this community home continue the proud legacy of service. We lost one of our great veteran volunteers this year, Laura Froelich, known to all as Flag Mama. Laura made it her personal mission to supervise the care and feeding of thousands of departing and returning war zone troops who passed through March Air Reserve Base. If you ever drive down the highway and you look over and you see a commercial airliner sitting over there, they didn't run out of gas. They're over there to either bring people back from the combat area or take them to the combat area. It still goes on. And Laura was there to greet these planes. She sometimes would camp out in a camper because the flights would occur at some weird hour. Sometimes she'd be at an event or a party, a community thing that she used to go to, and all of a sudden she'd get a cell phone. She says, "I'm out of here." "Where are you going?" They just got an inbound coming in from Afghanistan. All of the things that Laura did over there, and I was able to see it only once or twice, were hugs, handing little items to the troops, phone cards. If you look at the box over there, that we have a place for donations for peanut butter and jelly, because that's one of the big things that everyone seems to want. She would give inspiring words, and she listened. She was basically very often the last civilian mama, the the last civilian person who would give them a hug until they left and went into harm's way. And very often, the very first, when they came back, came down off of the ramp. And they would smile because they remember seeing her when they left. They're just happy to be back. Continuing her legacy, we are accepting those donations, and that goes to the Benefit Marches Hospitality Hangar 385 program. We also have banners and pavers that we have started. On August 24th, 2010, the City Council established the Military Appreciation Banner and Paver programs. And these programs that occur, it's not one person's idea. It's a variety of people in the community who have an idea, carried forth by members of the City Council. Bonnie Flickinger was very instrumental in that. Some of the people who have lost loved ones came forward and were concerned that we didn't have enough recognition. Well, we have the recognition going with the banner program, and we have the recognition going with the paver program. Today we recognize the dedication of 3 active duty military personnel with new banners, which have been installed over on Frederick, just north of Cactus. This is Frederick that runs along here, and Cactus is one down there that runs along the base. If the soldiers are here, would you please stand when I call your name so we can recognize your service? Randy Garcia, serving in the U.S. Marines. Is Randy here? Daniel Gonzalez, serving in the U.S. Army. I see a hand, a wave. Are you with the Gonzalez family? He's in Korea, okay. And Angeli Legardier, serving in the U.S. Navy. Family members here? All right. In addition, the pavers around the memorial's perimeter are engraved with the names of those who have served or are currently serving in our military. This Veterans Day, we recognize 2 Moreno Valley veterans with newly engraved granite pavers, which are installed around the northerly side of the memorial. I understand that both of these veterans have passed on. Would the veterans family please stand when I call each name so we can honor your veterans' contributions? Adam Sonny Gross served in the U.S. Air Force. Let's give him a hand. Laura Froelich, who served in the U.S. Air Force. And Larry's here, her husband, who also served in the Air Force. I encourage everyone here to take a few moments before you leave and visit the banners and the pavers and take a look and honor the service of those who make great sacrifices for our nation. For anyone who wants more information on the military appreciation banners or the memorial pavers, we have brochures back at the registration table. To recognize all the veterans here with us this evening, and I hope the veterans and their families were able to get the little pin if we didn't run out, I'm going to ask all of our active duty military to please stand and be recognized for your service. That's active duty and active guard and reserve. Anybody who's presently serving now, please stand. There's Jeff. And now, remain standing, please. All the veterans that are here, that ever served at all in the services, Coast Guard, Navy, Army, Marine Corps, Air Force, Merchant Marine, let's give them a hand. And me, along with everyone else here, we thank you for your service. We really do appreciate it. This beautiful Veterans Memorial was designed and constructed to honor all of our military servicemen and women. The stones around the center of the memorial are engraved with the names of those who have been killed in action, paying the ultimate price for our freedom. It's at this time that we honor the loss of a fallen Moreno Valley hero, 22-year-old U.S. Marine Corporal Anthony R. Servine, who graduated from Canyon Springs High School right up Pigeon Pass here in 2008. And think about it, that's only a few years, excuse me, he did not graduate in 2008. Yes, he did, 2008 it says. In 2008, and then only a few years later, he is with the 2nd Battalion, 5th Marine Regiment, 1st Marine Division, 1st Marine Expeditionary Force right out of Camp Pendleton, right down the road. And this year, only a few months ago, on June 8th, he was 5 months into his deployment, conducting combat operations as part of Operation Enduring Freedom, when he was killed in the Helmand province of Afghanistan. He is now buried right across the highway here at Riverside National Cemetery. We have installed a banner that remembers his sacrifice. It's located just at the entrance to the memorial at the driveway to the police station, right over here. At this time, I would like to present Corporal Servine's family with a proclamation that expresses our gratitude and deepest sympathy for their loss. Would the family please come forward? And we remember him for his sacrifice. And I'm going to read this. Please, if the family members could come forward, they're going to get 2 proclamations to present. I'm going to read this. I know it's somewhat detailed, but I think it's important that we recognize this great sacrifice. Whereas the City of Moreno Valley recognizes the many men and women who serve in the armed forces to protect and preserve our country and the freedoms enjoyed by all Americans. And whereas in war, international conflicts, and peacekeeping missions, men and women have been wounded, taken as prisoners, and killed in the line of duty. And whereas veterans possess a wide variety of valuable qualities, including experience, maturity, leadership, and loyalty. And whereas the City of Moreno Valley is committed to ensuring veterans receive the dignity and acknowledgments which they deservedly entitled to. Marine Corps Corporal Anthony R. Servine was killed in combat in Afghanistan on Friday, June 8, 2012. And whereas Corporal Servine died while conducting combat operations in the Helmand province in Afghanistan, one of the areas of heaviest fighting between NATO forces and the Taliban. And whereas after graduating from Canyon Springs High School in 2008, Corporal Servine joined the Marines and was attached to the 2nd Battalion, 5th Marine Regiment, 1st Marine Division, 1 Marine Expeditionary Force stationed at Camp Pendleton. And whereas the City of Moreno Valley celebrates Marine Corporal Anthony R. Servine's life by paying homage to his many fine qualities and expressing our sincere condolences to Corporal Servine's family in the greatest loss a family should never have to endure. Now therefore be it resolved, the City Council of the City of Moreno Valley, on behalf of all its citizens and staff, hereby acknowledges Marine Corporal Anthony R. Servine with deep gratitude by the fact he gave the greatest gift of all to his country, his life to protect and honor our freedom. We all want to do something right now. Let's give us some applause. You know, you have a feeling inside, you know, it's very, very strong feeling, and I think it's sad that we have to lose lives in order to preserve freedom. It really is, especially someone that's just that young. At this time, I'd like to invite the Knights of Columbus to assist me in posting the memorial wreath as we enjoy the music of our own Moreno Valley High School band. So the Knights will come up and they'll do their honor guard, and then we'll do the wreath laying at the memorial. I'll be assisted by council members Molina and Hastings. At the conclusion of the laying the wreath, the band's going to play some patriotic songs. As soon as they're done, there'll be taps will be played. Please remain for that. I appreciate it. This concludes the City of Moreno Valley's 2012 Veterans Day ceremony. May God bless our veterans. May God bless all who wear the uniform. And may God continue to bless the United States of America. And I want to include in the veterans all of the police and firefighters and first responders who are doing their best to keep us alive and save lives.